one, darnation!
I meant to do that.
Howdy folks, this is Applegeek, and the hype continues. We are now at episode 21 of Season 8 of My Little Pony. Just so you know, I am probably at this point going to be watching all the remaining episodes a little bit early now. We do now finally have proper full English versions of all the remaining episodes in high quality, so I can stand to watch these a little bit ahead of the actual Discovery Family releases, but obviously, I'm still not going to try and even post any of these episodes until after they have actually aired on Discovery in the US, because copyright issues and all that is just not worth risking. So, but that's fine, because I'm not gonna like watch all the episodes back to back, and the new stuff, like I need to process each one and do commentaries and everything. So, anyway, I will do my best to try and have these out for you as soon as I can once they're done. But again, with current copyright issues going on and everything, Hasbro and other parties are making it a little difficult to get timely releases out. So anyway, I just thank you everyone for your patience while we continue trying to work through this. So anyway, enough rambling about that. I would like to watch episode 21, yet another episode that has been getting hyped to me quite a bit. So I know absolutely nothing about this one. Maybe it's the Apple episode I thought the last one was going to be. We'll just have to wait and see. Episode 21, starting now. Is this... the Rockhoof's Island? Run away! Run away!
You don't have to work faster than that if you plan to dig up my whole village, lass. Me help.
I love this voice.
Thank you, Rockhoof.
Priceless artifact
But we're
or
trying
fossil?
to carefully preserve every bit of history here.
Yeah, Indiana Jones ponies again.
This place is full of memories. Did I tell you about the time our chieftain knocked down 5 boulders with the kick of a wee ball?
That's impressive.
Stop that!
But that's what this is for.
Maybe in the past. Now it belongs in a museum.
Safe, preserved, untouched.
Next you'll be saying I shouldn't have used the old sweat lodge.
Oh no!
So, you see why Rockhoof isn't an ideal fit for my team. Perhaps you...
Send him to the apple farm. Send him to the apple farm.
Unusual talents?
Of course, Professor Fossil. We'd be honored to have a pillar of Equestria on our staff.
Oh, thanks, Celestia.
Oh! Bring him to the school. Okay.
Oh, that apple's made of wood. What a horrible trick to play.
Has any pony seen my decorative centerpieces? They were right here.
Good luck!
Oh, this is gonna be great. I don't even know what to say about this yet. We finally get another pillar. Man, are we gonna see all the pillars now before the finale? Is that what's gonna be the rest of this? Please, Apple Bloom and him, please make this happen. Shut up and take my bits. But at the school, this could be
So
interesting.
welcoming Professor
See, I'm
Rockhoof to our faculty.
Professor Rockhoof. Oh boy,
Thank you,
a Rockhoof
thank
and a
you.
hard place.
I know I'm new to your world, but there's one thing I learned when I saved my village from a rushing river of hot lava. There's nothing you can't do with hard work. And a shovel!
Oops.
Except maybe stand on stage.
Oh!
So, every creature dismissed. We'll see you in class.
Well, that was a brief assembly.
That new pony is gonna be the weirdest teacher at school. Or just one of the weirdest. Yona like new teacher.
He big, like yak.
Does Smuller think they're all
Smashes
weird as
things
spitting?
like a yak. Smells like a yak.
Yes, he's perfect.
Guys, he's one of the pillars. He's like pony history.
Hello!
Yeah, he's true.
class!
Wow!
I'm your Nigerian defensive friendship teacher.
There are doors, you know.
I haven't had a chance to look at Headmare Twilight's notes yet.
The school was not built to withstand this.
Just studied all about how Princess Celestia and Luna used a spell to trap Discord in Stone Sleep for hundreds of moons.
Oh, so it's a class about stories, is it?
Oh boy.
Stories, yeah. And we never, ever get homework.
Good. The best way to teach colts and fillies is by experience. Like the time I was in the woods and ran across an Ursa Major.
Ooh.
We're not doing that, right?
You fight Ursa Major? All alone?
Aye, and I defeated her too.
Where's Trixie?
Now this I'm interested in. How Professor
Yeah.
Rockhoof win?
Well,
We're gonna get a flashback?
Wait a tale.
From what Professor Fossil said,
Okay.
it sounds like Rockhoof just hasn't settled into modern times
Thought that would be a
yet.
flashback.
Our school is the perfect place for that. Plus, we get a new teacher.
This may be the fastest friendship problem you ever solved.
Yeah, or not.
Dodge! Shovel leap! Shovel throw!
Wow.
Shovel whack! Now you lot be the Ursa Major. Lots of growl in mind.
That's adorable.
Maybe classrooms were less breakable in the old days. What happened next?
Or he wasn't the teacher in the old days.
The huge beastie jumped out of the moonlit mist. Her fearsome fangs at my throat. But I rolled clear. She backed me up against the wall, ready to pounce. I looked at her. She looked at me. And I say,
Professor Rockhoof?
nope, guess again. Oops.
Sorry to interrupt. Class, why don't we go ahead and take lunch early today? Rockhoof, can we take a walk outside?
Yes, away from the school, please.
Our school is about finding your own special way to teach.
And we can already tell you're a smash with the class.
But maybe you could do a little less smashing in the classroom?
Sorry about that. I did get a bit carried away. The student was so
Just a little
interested
bit.
in my tail.
He's gonna attack those vines.
I know it's a big change, but I think you're gonna fit in just...
What the? What?
Rockhoof, wait!
Oh.
Building to blaze. We have to get every pony out.
Professor Rockhoof, best teacher ever! They cannot get better!
What is happening here?
Let's get you outside, wee ones.
They just got better!
Alley-oop.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Saving the school. Just like fighting a volcano in the good old days.
Oh my.
Would some pony kindly explain what is the meaning of all this water?
Wet mane.
But I think it's...
So
Nice.
clarity, but I had to put out the rage in Inferno.
Inferno? Where?
Did you not see
Something
the
tells me
smoke
that was
that was us.
intentional.
You know, dragons, having a fire-breathing competition.
You?
What?
What?
What? What?
That's what we were trying to tell you.
We know you're used to being a
Is that
hero,
sanctioned by the school?
Only what we need here is a teacher.
Aww.
ruin an entire class's friendship quilts. Do you know how hard it is to stitch a pineapple pattern?
Okay.
My deepest apologies. I'm not used to living with dragons, or much else in this modern time. Professor Fossil made it clear I'm not welcome back in my old village. Seems I don't belong here either.
Come on, there's got to be a place for him here somewhere. Pinky.
So, apparently finding Rockhoof a new job is a lot harder than we thought. Has any pony had any luck?
Farm, please, please.
I I thought you were gonna try him out at the post office.
We did.
Do you know where I can find Cranky Doodle Donkey? I need to deliver his medicine. He has a rash in a very embarrassing place.
Oh! Why?
Ugh, I did not need to hear that.
No.
Rockhoof's time as a spa masseuse didn't work out either.
Oh boy.
Now, just let me know if this is too much pressure.
At least Rockhoof's really strong.
Both biceps finally met his match.
Carrying heavy stuff? I tried that already. Sakura needed somebody to help her get supplies, but
Okay,
I know
now
you said you only needed a few leaves, but I figured why not bring you the whole thing?
Ooh. Ah, she's probably got some ointment for that.
none of the other pillars seem to be having trouble fitting into the modern world.
Then maybe they can show Rockhoof how.
We haven't heard from any of the
Damn,
others.
you still living in this time.
Great idea. Rockhoof's old friends would be happy to help.
They're calling all the pills.
We'd love to visit them.
Oh my word! All in one episode. Okay.
Even Canterlot looks different from the old days.
Oh, I'm sure once
That's
you
a
see
very
your old
interesting
pal
pony.
Flash Magnus, you'll feel right at home.
Okay, what are they all up to?
3, 4, trot, 2, 3, 4.
Is he in the Royal Guard?
Lovely rookies.
Yes!
Visitors on site. Company halt.
Maybe he's gonna whip him into shape finally?
Rockhoof, you old ditch digger, you.
Flash Magnus.
Interesting new
That's how you
ponies
live in
walking
it.
through these scenes.
Is this your squadron?
After we got out of limbo, I went looking for work for a pony with experience in the Royal Legion. Once a soldier, always a soldier.
Princess Celestia
Makes sense.
was happy to find a new drill sergeant for her guard.
Yeah.
I wanted that to be Tempest, but this is cool too.
She really put you in a job that big so soon?
Oh, this is nothing. You should see what Miss Main is up to.
Yes, do tell.
They
Oh.
made you the royal landscape artist for the Crystal Empire?
Wow.
Your work is beautiful.
Wow!
Thank you. I've never worked with Crystal before.
Dang!
In my heart, I know I'm where I belong.
You always could find the beauty in things, but there's not much demand for shovel ponies like me nowadays.
Oh, come
Don't
on, man.
give up hope. See Somnambula. She'll help you find your purpose.
Aw. I love Miss Main.
Somnambula's a
Isn't it-
motivational speaker. But they didn't even have those.
Yoga
back in my
instructor?
time.
Because we didn't know ponies knew what to do with their lives.
Dead Applejack's gonna be a meme.
Voice and feel yourself unlock your potential.
Wow.
Imagine everything that troubles you as one big cloud. Now, let it float
Okay.
away. You are relaxed.
Don't tell me this is working.
Free to do anything you wish.
Yes, he is.
Mage Meadowbrook, your home looks just the same as the old days.
Perfect.
Wish I could say the same for mine.
Oh.
I've had to expand my clinic a bit. Many creatures need healing in this modern world. Oh, looks like you could use some too. What's
Aw.
got you heartsick, Rockhoof?
Thing is, I can't do my old job like Flash, or adapt like Miss Main, or succeed at something new like Somnambula, or go home like you.
Give it time. Even Star Swirl's still learning about friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I bet Stygian took plenty of time to fit in.
Hey!
What do you see, Stygian?
Me and My Shadow, the third hit novel by former villain Stygian. He's really thriving. Where are you going?
I'm not sure. Maybe I just don't belong in this.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
Now this here's a right mash of apples. Instead of solving Rockhoof's problem, we made him feel...
Take him to the farm!
I'll tell you the real problem here.
here.
That guy can make applesauce like nobody's business.
Really is. A pony with a metal shovel and a heart of gold?
They can plow the fields easy.
What we need to do is find him a job that's as epic as he is.
I might know just the thing.
Wait, was that Mount Eris?
I'm
What?
honored to serve in the Hippogriff Navy.
What?
Sea Spray.
What?
I promise I'll prove my worth.
I know how hard it is to adapt to a new home. After our many years below the waves,
That sailor outfit.
it seemed strange.
Like, you didn't fit in, no matter how hard you tried?
As though the world had moved on without us. Never fear, Rockhoof. We shall be as brothers in this bright
He's gonna sink that ship.
above the waves.
Why do the hippogriffs need ships if they can turn into sea ponies?
Maybe they just like cruises?
This is an excellent question.
Too thick to see our way out of the harbor.
So I thought for seconds that's Skystar, but no, it can't be.
Hold the ship and hold her till the fog passes.
Wait, General. We can navigate the same way my cultic ancestors traveled through the silky mists.
Cultic? Oh my!
Stars!
It took a second to sink
There in
in.
the northwest sky is the constellation Bridal's Pelt. Steer the ship toward that.
You heard the pony crew make full sail.
Okay. And are they gonna run into something?
Yeah! Rockhoof did it!
Yeah.
I don't understand. The stars have always steered me true.
No.
But they
the
moved
stars
over
move
1,000
slowly
years.
Over time.
Yes.
It must look different now than over 1,000 years ago.
It was an honor serving with you, Rockhoof. But it seems our paths lie in different
Get
directions.
fired! Aww. Well, he did sort of wreck the ship, but not the way I thought he would.
We'll think of something else for you to do.
Oh, there's no need, lass. You already know what I want to do next.
Really? What?
Which is?
I heard there's a statue spell that sends creatures into stone sleep.
Oh, no.
Me.
Not happening.
No!
Yes.
No!
I.
No!
I.
Hey guys.
Arguing all through the night.
Help you decide something?
Rockhoof wants me to cast a spell to turn him into a statue. The answer is no.
Well, it should be I.
Because I wouldn't even be here to be turned into a statue if Twilight hadn't cast a spell in the first place.
Oh.
I thought you were arguing over ice cream flavors.
The answer is still no. Why would you want to be turned into stone?
Because I'm a relic of a bygone age. I belong in a museum. Safe, preserved, untouched.
There's got to be somewhere
I don't
for this
belong
guy.
in this time. It's up to you to make that right.
But there has to be a better way.
Twilight, please understand. I want to be remembered as the hero I was, not the disappointment I've become.
But you're not. Rockhoof, wait! Spike, can you teach my class today?
You're not really gonna turn him to stone, are you?
Whoa,
Only
Spike
because
substitute
it's
teacher?
temporary. As soon as I think of a new solution, we'll wake Rockhoof up. I know he has more to offer the world as a pony than a statue.
What? You're serious
Did
to
you hear
get...
that
But,
Rockhoof caught all the
what?
birds in the Everfree Forest and gave them to Zecora as a gift?
Wow! Terramar said Rockhoof called down the stars and sunk the whole Hippogriff Navy!
He's definitely
What, all one ship of it?
in a fun way. You never know what's gonna happen next with him. Professor Rockhoof, best pony.
Hey class. Welcome to the Theory and Defense of Friendship.
Another sub? Let me start by telling you that
Pandering.
we don't get homework and we only do field trips.
Yeah, let's try. Twilight sent me to tell you she won't be in today because she has to cast a stone sleep spell on Rockhoof.
Like Discord?
Oh,
Why?
the young six are gonna help him out.
Why?
Your instructions are to write an essay on heroism and what it means to you.
No.
Oh, don't worry, it doesn't have to be a long essay.
Maybe like this? What will give the wee birds fewer places to decorate?
Oh!
Rockhoof, Dragon said you want to turn into stone.
I'm gonna say this is not gonna happen.
Believe it.
I'm afraid it's true, lass.
But Pony need finish some major story for class.
It's sweet of you to try to
There is that.
stay, Yona. But I'm afraid old stories like mine aren't worth anything in this day and age.
Fine.
That's not
Pony
true.
no want tell Yona story, then Yona tell Pony story.
Oh!
From class report. When Yona come to Pony school, Yona not fit in. Pony way strange, but Yona find friends. Yona meet Professor Rockhoof. Pony brave and strong as yak. Not afraid. Hero. When Yona grow up, Yona want to be just like Professor Rockhoof.
Oh.
Well, she went to the trouble
That
of
little
writing
troll.
something that nice. I suppose the least I could do is tell you the rest of the story.
Yona tell whole school Rockhoof is best. Now all wanna hear story.
Oh!
Okay, I have the spell.
Twilight, you're out of the loop here.
Consider
The Major tried to grab me by the gullet, but I ducked her claws. She had me cornered, so I look at her, she looks at me. And I say, sorry, you won't be having any dinner tonight, lass. Guess you'll just have to grin and bear it.
Oh!
Tossed her away with my shovel high into the sky. And she's been a constellation up there ever since. Or so I'm told. And that's the end of my story.
One more story! One more story!
Encore! Encore!
Oh, thank you for listening, but it's time to say goodbye.
Nope.
Wait, you said there wasn't anything in this time you were good at. What about telling stories?
It was just a tall tale.
One that captured the hearts and imagination of every creature here.
Plus, Pony story's super fun!
As the Princess of Friendship, I'd like to
Where's Apple Bloom when you need her?
Austria's official keeper of tales.
Can you do that?
She's a princess, why not?
It's very kind of you, but I still think these old bones are more suited to a museum display.
You are a living record of our history. Your stories can inspire and teach generations to come. If you're a
Yes.
statue, that's all lost.
Absolutely.
Will I ever really belong in your world?
Rockhoof Yona's friend, so Rockhoof belongs.
You know, that reminds me
Okay.
of another story.
Oh boy.
Once there was a small yak that knew more than a great hero.
Hey! Don't forget the dragons in this one.
Dragons and ponies. And plenty of hippogriffs. Plus a changeling and a griffin.
No credits in this. Oh well. Story time with Rockhoof. Yeah, Ponyville just got a lot more interesting. Yeah, I need time to process this. I will be right back. Okay, so I honestly, quite honestly, am really disappointed that we did not get to see Apple Bloom in this episode. You know, with as much as she was freaking out over the story of the Legend of Rockhoof back during the episode Campfire Tales, you know, and now that Rockhoof actually returned, I figured at some point when Rockhoof came back, we'd get to see him and Apple Bloom interact and finally have that wonderful moment. And we might still yet get to see that at some point, but I had hoped it would be this episode, like the first appearance we got of Rockhoof after the end of Season 7. And unfortunately, that did not happen. And not only that, I mean, it's disappointing for more than just because of that. It's also the fact that I felt like this situation actually would have been great for the CMCs to handle. I mean, you know, it wasn't a cutie mark issue per se, but the CMCs do more than that. That they're really good at just helping others who are struggling to find, you know, what they're good at and what their place is in this world, cutie mark or otherwise. So, you know, it seemed like they could have helped out here. I mean, again, that would have made for a great character episode between Apple Bloom and Rockhoof and everything, and with the others as well. But but it is what it is. We didn't see the CMCs, and it was still a great episode overall. So moving on from that. Of course, I've been wondering all season as well what all the pillars have been up to, since we, aside from Star Swirl, we hadn't seen any of them since the end of Season 7. And now we know we got a little brief overview of where they're all at. Things are going pretty well for most of them, which is, not really all that surprising. Of course, like I said, we saw how things were going for Star Swirl. He's just doing his little travels, trying to get accustomed to the world and learn about friendship himself. And of course, with the others, a lot of the others too, it makes sense. They just had skills and abilities and experiences that allowed them to fit pretty well into modern society. Obviously, Mage Meadowbrook, is like, well, we always need medicines and stuff. So, and her home is still there, so that was a perfect fit. Mistmane, she was already kind of a traveling pony before all of this started anyway, just kind of spreading beauty throughout the land as she traveled around. So, it makes sense that she would fit in pretty well just kind of wherever. And of course, Flash Magnus with the Royal Guard, that's an obvious fit, because, once a soldier, always a soldier, like you said. Somnambula's a little bit more tricky, but I figured she would be back in her home village in some capacity, because, they all still adored Somnambula and everything there. So, motivational speaker and kind of like a Zen master or whatever. A little bit of an interesting twist, but seems to suit her well. But yeah, and even Stygian, I'm a little curious as to what's going on with that book series. It'd be interesting if they actually publish those books. I think that could be a really interesting read to get some more background and depth on Stygian. I really do wish we had gotten to see him again, but regardless, it seems like he's found his niche there as well. That brings us to Rockhoof. So obviously a little bit of a problem for him. Now, keep in mind, Rockhoof already had trouble fitting in once before. He originally was just a very scrawny little pony, and he had big, visions and dreams and everything of, joining the Mighty Helm and being this great warrior and stuff, but his physical limitations were holding him back on that. But then when that volcano erupted, we still don't know exactly what happened there, but he came across some kind of magic that transformed him into this, the big rugged stallion, and that gave him the abilities to dig the ditch and whatever and save the village from the lava from that volcano and stuff. And then he became a member of the Mighty Helm like he'd always dreamed, and then eventually became one of the pillars of Equestrian stuff. Really found his place and fit in well and kind of lived out his dreams. Now all of a sudden he's thrust into the modern world, and kind of everything that a lot of the things that he is good at don't really have a good fit in this society. So he's kind of back to square one, trying to figure out what he's supposed to do. So I can definitely empathize with his, or at least, kind of understand where his, the situation that he's in. And, I was also a little confused by how the story seemed to go around in a big circle. It's kind of obvious right from the start that he was great at telling stories, but we kind of left that behind, and then later looped back around to that being the solution at the end, as kind of like, I thought we moved on from there, but more on that in a little bit. Of course, at first he was, kind of wrecking the school in the process of telling his stories, so, obviously there is some issues to be addressed in that regard. Didn't discount the quality of the storytelling, but it's definitely an issue. And, admittedly, he should have been, obviously, a lot more thoughtful and careful about what he was doing with that. You didn't have to look very hard to see how much damage he was doing. He busted right through the wall when he entered the classroom. It's like, are you even trying right now? All that said, though, I'm not going to put all the fault on him with this. Obviously, he's a very bubbly, if you will, individual, a very outgoing individual who gets excited about his stories and whatever and gets a little carried away. And, you know, Twilight didn't really give him much to work with. She just handed him a bunch of notes and left him to figure things out on his own. Now, I do applaud the, you know, Twilight pointed out that it's like they like to let all their teachers find their own unique teaching styles, and I think that's great. But it wasn't really a good idea for her to not provide any kind of direction whatsoever for this. I mean, at the very least, I feel like she should have, you know, just kind of supervised a little bit, watch from the back of the classroom, you know, just let him try some things out, and then maybe make some suggestions for improvements or whatever, and, you know, maybe find a more appropriate forum for all the crazy, you know, visual demonstrations of his abilities and whatever, where he wasn't breaking the classroom. But anyway, and then she really didn't give him much background of school activities either, you know, such as apparently an ongoing fire breathing competition between Smolder and Spike. Now, I gotta say, I seriously question the wisdom of allowing that to happen inside the school. Now, I'm pretty sure this school is flammable to some degree, and that seems like a pretty serious fire hazard to me, so I don't blame Rockhoof at all for trying to put that fire out. And as that apparently that's the thing that goes on, it has been going on for quite some time, because everybody is like, what are you doing? It's no big deal. Yeah, it kind of is a big deal, but moving on from that. Now, I do have to admit, maybe some of this, you know, information was in that big pile of notes that she gave him that he was supposed to read and whatever, but I would say that Twilight of all ponies should know that her type of very detailed notes and stuff isn't well received by others, that not everyone can sit and absorb all that stuff the way that she can. So, you know, maybe not the best way to start things off in that regard. So, but I do think it was a good idea for her to try and, you know, bring in the other pillars for help, though. I mean, after all, they are Rockhoof's only real connection back to his past. So, you know, especially since he's not welcome back home on his own island anymore, so that's now an archaeological dig site and whatnot. But unfortunately, with none of them really having any trouble fitting in modern society, and even several of them ending up back at their original homes, you know, it's probably a little hard for them to relate to his situation and really offer any meaningful advice. You know, and all that said, though, I never thought the story would take quite such a dark turn as the way that it did here. I mean, you know, with him in the situation where, you know, having tried everything he could think of, you know, he felt more useless than ever and just wanted to seal himself away in stone. That is a really big deal. I mean, this is essentially the kid-friendly version of suicide, and for that matter, assisted suicide, because he needed Twilight, or at least Twilight at minimum, to cast the spell on him. You know, it's kind of unclear. In the past, every time that spell's been used, it's been from the power of all 6 elements of harmony. So, you know, did Twilight figure out another way to do it, or would you have had to bring in all the other main 6 and get them to agree to it, or whatever? It's kind of fuzzy on the details on that. Fortunately, it never came to that, so, you know, the argument is purely academic. We don't really have to worry about that at this point. And thank goodness. But I am really disappointed that Twilight would ever consider actually going through with it and sealing him away in stone. I mean, I am aware that, you know, she was very much against it at first, and as she should be. And even when she did start to consider it, you know, she stated very clearly that this is, you know, only a temporary thing until we can figure out something for him. You know, she wasn't just going to leave him hanging. So I do applaud her for, you know, for pushing back on it to at least to that degree, but I still feel like she gave up a little too easily on that. You know, she really wasn't out of options yet. I mean, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is, you know, why didn't she seek counsel from any of the other princesses? Now, I get it. She's trying to, you know, figure things out on herself, take responsibility for herself, you know, to fix her own mistakes and whatever, not just go running to Princess Celestia for help all the time and stuff. I get that, and she's done quite well at that. But, I mean, this is a big deal, and this is one of the pillars of Equestria. I don't think it would be that big of a deal to go knock on some doors and just ask them if they've got any ideas or, any thoughts on how to help resolve the situation. Again, for something this serious, you should exhaust every avenue of help that you have, every possible option, before resorting to something so radical as sealing him away in stone. And, really, it just... Twilight was failing to see some of the options that were just staring her right in the face for things that she had observed, but just kind of went right over her head. She really had not paid close enough attention to Rockhoof back when he was teaching at the school, telling his story. She wasn't seeing how good he was at that and how the students themselves were benefiting from it. And, she obviously thought that he had some knowledge and wisdom to share as a teacher at the school, or otherwise she wouldn't have made him a professor in the first place. So I think she really should have tried harder to help him figure out his teaching style, rather than just, sending him on this wild goose chase of all these other jobs to try and stuff. I mean, that's where you started. Don't you think he gave up on that angle just a little bit too quickly? There again, the water thing was kind of a problem too. But again, that wasn't really his fault at all. So... And Twilight also failed to see the connection that Yona had to Rockhoof there, and didn't consider what sealing him away would have done to her. I really have to wonder, what kind of message would it have sent to the students to seal away their new favorite teacher in stone, regardless of what the reason was? It's a pretty extreme thing, and, it's... Yeah. I think basically Twilight she let her emotions cloud her judgment, probably largely due to her guilt over releasing the pillars from the void and forcing them to cope with the modern world. So, to be fair, obviously this was a very difficult and unique situation. I get that. And I totally get that she thought that she was doing the right thing. And I applaud that at least she took the matter very seriously and was only willing to resort to it after she felt like she had exhausted all of her options. I just really wish that Twilight could get past the tunnel vision she seems to have at times and see these things that are just kind of staring her right in the face. And also, I do have to point out, it wasn't just her. There were, the rest of the main six too. She was asking them for help, which... she wisely was that she doesn't always do that, at least not that we see, and she did that in this case, and they were kind of all out of ideas too. So it's not like she wasn't trying, but she's still missing some key points in this. And of course, it was also just very disheartening to see Rockhoof struggling so hard to find something that he could do well. Leaving aside the exaggeration of being 1,000 years out of time, there are many people in our world that experience something similar to his situation. Something happens where you lose your home, maybe all or most of the people that you care about, and you have no home, no friends, and, nothing that you try to do to keep busy just works out, and, you just lose all hope and want to end it all. That is a thing that unfortunately happens to quite a lot of people in this world. And, notably, this is a thing that actually happens to a lot of soldiers that return home after military service. And they end up homeless and kind of without purpose and unable to find a place in civilian society. That some of the trauma that they experience during the service like that can just really mess with their heads and make it difficult for them to ever, adapt back into regular society again. And I kind of get the feeling that is almost a little bit like what was happening here with Rockhoof himself. Because he was a member of the Mighty Helm, kind of a warrior in his own right. And now he's come home to a brighter, safer world that doesn't really require his type of heroics to keep everyone safe on a regular basis. So it's kind of like, well, this was my whole life. Now what do I do? It's really a tough situation to be in. Fortunately, Yona to the rescue. Oh, Yona is such a sweetheart. And looking back to this episode, it was very clear that she made an instant connection to him. You know, and it's easy to see why, because he's probably the most yak-like pony that we've ever had in the show here. You know, Yona's culture is obviously quite different than that of the ponies, and she's likely had a very difficult time adapting to this environment. You know, of course, she's found her friends, which has helped a lot, but still, with nobody else just like herself, you know, she still likely felt quite alone in a lot of ways. And of course, it didn't help at all that she didn't get to actually go home for the holidays either, as all the young six stayed together at Twilight's Castle because of what happened back in with Gallus and the Breakfast Club there. But then comes along Rockhoof, who is, you know, in many ways very similar to the Yaks. You know, he's big, he's strong, he smashes things, and he tells great stories of heroic feats. I mean, that's kind of, from what I've observed, that's kind of Yak Culture 101. And of course, he instantly became a role model for Yona, and she was naturally very heartbroken to learn that he just wanted to run away from all of that. You know, and I find it interesting that Rockhoof at one point said that learning by experience is the best way to learn. Or, I mean, not word for word, but that's basically what he was saying. Yona, due to her experience during her time at the School of Friendship here, you know, has learned what you truly need to be able to fit in, and was able to see that all he needed was to realize that he had friends in herself and the other students, and that as long as he has friends, he has a place and a purpose. And I said it wasn't just Yona's friendship either. All the students loved Rockhoof, and for good reason. You know, one of the big advantages of Twilight School is that the unique teaching styles of all the different teachers allows the students to learn and experience things in ways that are much more meaningful than just cramming your head full of a bunch of facts and figures from a textbook. Now, of course, facts and figures are very important. That's part of the learning process. But so is imagination and inspiration, which can be greatly stimulated through storytelling. You know, I really think that stories are, in fact, one of the pillars of our society. Great stories can be used to share great wisdom and experience, and they can invoke incredible emotions and imagination in those that are listening, and inspire them to do great things. You know, and they can also allow us to just better understand and relate to others who are different than ourselves. And, you know, really, one needs to look no further than this show, you know, My Little Pony, to see what kind of great things a well-told story can do. You know, it's kind of similar to how Rockhoof's story was bringing the whole, you know, all the students, the entire school together, including creatures from many different races and societies. The story of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has brought together so many people from all different walks of life, and inspired so many of us to find friends and do awesome things for each other. The ability to tell these kinds of stories, the kind of stories that can inspire so many, is truly a wonderful gift. Unfortunately, Rockhoof didn't see it that way at first, and just thought of his own stories as silly and irrelevant in this modern world. You know, and Twilight also came up short on this at first, and, you know, she was only seeing that Rockhoof was getting carried away in his storytelling, and, you know, damaging the school, and she didn't recognize the value held within the story that he was telling. Fortunately, the students, most notably Yona, were able to convince Rockhoof of his value, and also showed Twilight that that this was really his true talent, and in fact a treasure that they could not afford to lose. It's been said that those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. Rockhoof's knowledge of the past, and not to mention his experiences as a pillar, will allow them to better learn from the past and grow stronger because of it. And I do also have to say, I found it a bit confusing to see that his, as I mentioned earlier, that his story ended up being the solution when it first appeared to be a failure. But that also makes kind of a lot of sense when I started to think about it. You know, sometimes what we perceive as a failure or a weakness in ourselves is actually a strength. And sometimes we just need somebody else to help us see that. You know, you may find that you're good at something, but you don't see a use for it, or you know, maybe you tried to use your ability for something and it just never worked out. But that doesn't mean it's a useless or worthless ability, and you shouldn't give up on it. You know, sometimes you just have to wait for the right opportunity to come along, and if you give up on it now, you might regret that later. I'm very sure that Rockhoof would have very much regretted being sealed away in stone later on, you know, if he had learned how much he would have hurt the students and Yona in particular by leaving. You know, even if there's just one other special person in this world that your ability or your talent helps, that alone makes it worth everything. Everyone has special talents. You have them for a reason. Just don't give up on them. So that's what I got. Great story. It hit me a lot harder after I really had let it all absorb and sink in and stuff. It's a quirky, funny, fun episode, but the real depth of what happened here is phenomenal. And I've helped some of you guys out there see that as well. So thanks for watching with me as always, and I look forward to seeing you guys again with the next episode. Later.